There from the first half in the international friendly match between the Uganda Cranes and the DRC side in Japoma Stadium in Douala. Douala, Cameroon is where the Uganda Cranes will play their next AFCON qualifier game between them and Algeria, and it's going to happen on June 18th. And this game that you've just witnessed at the halftime scoreline being 1-0 in favor of the DRC is a friendly match. That is a tune-up for both sides as they prepare for their next game. And halftime there is 1-0, like you know. If you have just joined us, this is Fufa TV, the home of Ugandan sport, and it's me, Tenonik Tamusoke, with two gentlemen here who have seen it at the highest level. On my extreme right is Godfrey Mugisha. Good evening.
Good evening, viewers.
And then on my near post is Samson Kiria, the goalkeeper for Wakiso Giants and also a national team squadsman. Good evening.
Good evening.
Gentlemen, Uganda is trailing 1-0 in a friendly game. So much has been seen on the pitch, and I think it's very important for people like you to discuss what exactly have you seen in your own opinion. Let me start with you, Godfrey.
First of all, I'm glad to be here tonight. And based on the way the game is initially set up slightly poorly, and instead of, I think, some of the young lads are trying to face that actual international game playing in the senior team, you could realize everybody, whenever they could get the ball in the back, they could try to hit a top ball up top for our strikers, mainly forward, of which the Congolese were really closing us down every time we got the ball, right? But as you could see, as the game progressed, their mindset changed, and as you could see, we had a couple of chances towards the end of the first half. I'm expecting some changes during the second half, of which if they could bring in more senior players so that Bobos could be pushed a little bit forward, and also give room to these young lads, Mato and Mugulusi, of which I feel, them being young and pacey, they're being wasted playing as the midfielders. I know we need the likes of Okwi and Fad and Farouk Mir. But of course, these young lads are more hungrier. And when you think about it, putting Farouk Mir up top is a kind of a waste, whereas him coming up from the midfield, joining up with the attackers, would have been more advantageous. Yes, please.
Yeah, Godfrey talked about mostly the forward thinking situation, but we've seen a lot of action at the back. And Samson, being a goalkeeper, I think you should have been shouting your voice hoarse, especially on the left side of our defense, where a left-footed genius is taking Aziz Kayondo for class.
Yeah, you're right. Talking about that, I would be really, being in the position of goal, I would be shouting more towards Aziz Kayondo, giving him instructions about what to do to really find a way of preventing that. Because it's a bit tricky. This Bongoda guy is left-footed, but is more dangerous when he's given the line. He's more dangerous when he's given the line. The two times he has really taken on the line, he has been fouled, and we've conceded some 2 free kicks. Those are he himself has been taking them, and he has that great technique of taking the free kicks. Those free kicks have been dangerous into our box. So what I would be telling him, at least on these other times when he has been left to get on his strong foot, the left, he has really played the ball. He has played the ball negatively. He has played it back to this player, to these players who are coming to help him. But at the times when he has taken on the line, he has been dangerous. I think he uses both feet. He has been dangerous. And even when you see that he forced the line, when he considered, when we considered that penalty, you saw that they had to force the line. This guy had to nutmeg our fullback. Then he had to play a rebounder off the hand of our defender. But the times he has been forced to play back to get on his left foot, he has really played backwards. And I think it has been on our favor. Then talking more about Bangoda. This is a guy who is playing as a creative player on the side of on the side of the Congolese. And I think we need one as us. Ismail Mugurusi tried to do that towards the end of first half.
Yeah.
He had 2 touches in the opponent's box, and we got a corner kick. And that corner kick almost resulted into a result for us. The keeper had to save off the line. So I think we need more of a creative player who plays the Bangoda way for us, for the Uganda Cranes, in order to be able to break down that defense. Because if we play that ball towards that, it took us 30 minutes before we had our first touch in the opponent's box. They had many before they scored. And if you look at our previous goals, we've scored them in the final third. And most of the goals in this generation are scored in the opponent's box. So I think if we really utilize more of those of Muguru's type, and we really take him to really lift the team, we need a player who can lift up the team, who will try to lift up the team the way Bangoda is doing it for them. He has to take on the player, he gets into the box, and something will happen for us.
Talking about a creative player, of course, it takes my mind on to the gentleman whose minute silence was honored, the late Jamil Wile Chambade, who was buried yesterday. Godfrey Mugisha, you played with Jamil Chambade, and you were a very fast player who always dashed through for those through balls, especially for Jackson Mayanja and all that. How hard is it these days to get a creative player the way Uganda is playing?
To me, I think it's just the way how the game has drastically changed. There's a mix. When you find countries the way the Congolese are playing, they're mixing the modern game and the old-fashioned way, orthodox kind of play. They've got that gentleman up top, right, as their striker. Ikola? No. Ikola, I think. Yeah, Ikola guy. So whenever he gets the ball, there's always a second player supporting on the left, and they say another player on the right. So ideally, even if we have a player who is more creative, without us implementing the old-fashioned way of playing, get the ball, old-fashioned way of getting the ball, take the ball, get the ball, take it to the opponents, right? Of which the Congolese are doing it through perfectly, from the defense going up top. Long ball, second ball, they win the second ball, always there's a player to support. And whoever gets the ball has the freedom to take on quick passes in tight spaces. I think eventually when we adjust to that kind of play, I think we have players who can do that, but only that we have limits on the way. More of the players we have in Uganda, however much they are creative, they are so much that follow coach's instructions. They forget that at times as a player, you need to get back and do your own. You take me back to the point where you mentioned about days back when I was playing and Chambade was an attacking midfielder. You know, we could listen to the coaches, yes, you have to do this, but you could know that, well, Chambade is coming with the ball, I need to draw back one to next thing in space because my strongest point was pace. Right? So, and at least even these young lads, I think they need to adjust somewhere, somehow. Just as you mentioned, if we have a creative players, many of them on a bench. They need to adjust, they leave in the pacey players. Let's say Emma could stay on and Fad. Probably they pulled back a little bit of the Farouk, right? Combine him with this young man, Travers, and then let Bobos be the man to do the magic in front, and then let Kaidauchu sit. That's my observation, right? And I think we could get a chance, right, Okwi?
Yeah, of course, we'll have a look at how the team is aligned there. Of course, Gavin Chizito and Joseph Ochoya will miss the game because they are injured. They are part of the squad, but the rest of the players are up there for selection. Khalid Aucho, of course, has had a long time playing for young Africans, and maybe the coach is thinking that it will be too early to give him more minutes. Probably will come on. We saw him being given tete-a-tete with Moses Bassen and all. When we get to see the lineup, maybe we can see some of the players that can come on. Samson, our movement of the ball up from defense going forward, like Godfrey was saying, why do we always force ourselves to hit the ball? The goalkeeper tried to play. When we play, how hard is it for us to maintain like 3, 4, 5, because that kind of game means you have to play like 5 touches to reach there.
Thank you. I think the motive for starting the ball from the back is to attract those people, to attract the opponents to come to your side, to come, and so that you create spaces outside. But before even the players come, we find ourselves kicking the ball. I think we are really running out of patience. We need to be patient enough to know the motive as to why we are starting the ball from behind. We need to play play it back to the goalkeeper, play it back to the goalkeeper as we attract. When we see we've attracted 3 bodies and we see we cannot play it in the flanks, then that means, and that pass, it shouldn't be a mere kick of the ball. It should be a pass, and especially in the flanks. It is especially in the flanks. When you play it in the flanks, it creates room because it expands the opponent's defense. They will come up to the line. And when they open up, obviously the spaces have to be there. The spaces have to be there through which we can get passes like the one Mia played in Tanzania.
Yeah.
It is because of opening up the defense that we shall get those spaces where we can play such balls. And Mato has been good in finishing towards the end of the season. He scored 4. And that means if he's in those positions and you give him that good pass, his finishing is undoubtedly good. He can become the Farouk Mia of those days, the golden boy, who will be scoring in and out, whether it is these games, right? Because remember when Mia started scoring for the national team, even in these regional games, you could see him on the score sheet. And it should become a mentality for a person like Mato to score in such games, and it will give him the confidence. He will lift up the team. But we need to create. If we don't create enough, he will also be overshadowed and he will not be seen. We have done some good job against Mayele.
Yeah.
We've done a good job. But I think maybe our homework was against him more than the other players. Because we've tried, the crosses are coming in, we are really marking him well. But again, not him alone. We need to do it for the rest, and we need to create for our players for to do it for us.
Football is a funny game. Sometimes players are limited, yes, by tactics, but again, even coaches are limited by preferences. Most of the time we see defensive players in midfield. When the coach opts for one or less and then has more attackers, again, questions come. Godfrey, how can the team actually play in midfield and maintain the shape that we see that can defend and attack and put pressure on the team?
All right, now, based on the game, so far, the Congolese came with a strategy, right, whereby they press us down, of which for us we give them more room to move around, right? That has caused us not to be creative enough, right? Our most creative player, who is Bobos, is playing so much deep behind. And the rest of the other players, the likes of Mugulusi and...
That is the squad we have on the bench. The coach has a chance to play either Siraj Sentamu, Moses Waiswa, Khalid Aucho, Milton Karisa, Travis Mutiaba, or the striker Richard Basangwa, who plays in Egypt. Who do you think can, or else he can as well change the whole team?
Just as I did mention earlier, if they can bring in this young lad, Travis Mutiaba, and we form kind of like a triangle with Bobos pushing up a little bit and probably bring another defensive player, give room for Farouk and Travers to create opportunities for this, because of the players who are pace enough as strikers, but they are being minimized of not getting enough through balls going up top.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Samson, what is your take on the shape of the team, especially with the substitutes available?
There's something with the substitutes available. There's something Siraj Sentamu does at Vipers when he's playing for his club. He plays the role of a playmaker who brings in other players into the game. You'll find him playing short passes, trying to give every player a feel of the ball, and it boosts the confidence of the players. So we are not having that on the pitch. Moses Waiswa does the same thing while at KCC. Moses Waiswa is always going towards where the ball is, and he will play these short passes. But really, those passes are really important to the team because they attract the opponents. They see the ball is around there. But again, after playing those short passes, you can really play long pass because it creates space for the player who is far away. I think such players can change it.
Well, it seems the coach has chosen to first change the goalkeeper. We are not going to comment about the penalty and all that. I think it's very defeatist to discuss about a goal conceded. Let's go back to the second half for this friendly game between DR Congo and Uganda Cranes.